Welcome to another edition of It's Still Real to Me. I'm Jonathan Zaslow, of course, Zaslow Show 2.0. My pal is Joey Levine. As we come at you every Saturday, we give you the week's biggest stories in the world of pro wrestling. Joey, how you doing this morning? It is freezing outside. Hello.
It's freezing outside, but it's about to be much colder where I'm headed because it's 8 degrees in New Jersey where I'm flying
Yes,
into in
yeah.
a
So
few
you're
hours.
headed up north,
Yeah.
okay? And you're going to a show with your brother. You're going to see WWE live at Madison Square Garden. Now it's a
Yes.
house show, but if for folks who aren't aware, and if you've never been to a house show at Madison Square Garden, which I haven't, um, the house shows at Madison Square Garden are because that's like WWE's old school home base. I mean, it's the site of WrestleMania 1, of course. That's their old original territory, that Northeast. Is that where Hogan beat Iron Sheik? Was it in Madison Square
I
Garden?
believe so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe
so
so.
that's their old home base. And whenever they do house shows there, they actually rarely do Raw there. They rarely do SmackDown. It's really expensive to rent that building, as you would imagine. So they'll do like house shows there like once a year, but they treat them as a pretty big deal,
Oh
those
yeah.
shows.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were trying we were going back and forth because me and my brother and one of our buddies is going and one of the guys that my brother works with. So there's like a little crew of us going. We're just like going back and forth on what might happen. And or like who's going to be there, who's going to show up. And I just kind of said, like, all bets are off. Like, here's what I know. They're promoting that the bloodline is going to be there. So that's awesome. They're promoting that Bray is going to be there. That's awesome. Other than that, it's obviously a SmackDown show because there's another live event, I believe, running the same
Yep.
night, which will
Yeah.
be the Raw show.
Yeah.
But I also said, like, wouldn't be shocked if Triple H comes out. It's his first house show at the Garden since he took over. Wouldn't be shocked if he came out and said something or did something. I think anything could happen here.
And for people who are, you're listening right now, like, hold on, how's Joey going to see a live WWE show at the Garden on Monday
Mm,
night? Monday Night Raw is a best of show. There's
yeah,
no live Monday Night Raw. So, like, it's super rare. And of course, SmackDown last night was taped. But Monday Night Raw is not a taped show this week. It's a best of type show. There's like
which is
no
like unheard of, right? Isn't that the
unheard of.
first?
Yeah, it feels unheard of, but they're doing so okay. Well, apparently they want to give people time off, an extra day off because of the holiday. Merry Christmas, everyone. Of course, you're listening right now. Christmas Eve, tomorrow, Christmas Day. Maybe you're listening, maybe it's already Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody out there. They want to give folks an extra day off, and they're still doing a SmackDown house show and a Raw house show because apparently all the production crew, all those type of people, they don't work those house shows. So they're getting the day off.
Right.
And from what I understand, the WWE superstars who are working those house shows are getting pretty heavily incentivized to work the day after Christmas, those house shows. So yeah, it's kind of weird. You're going to a live show and there's literally no Raw that night.
Yeah, and it also like one of like our buddy who's going was like, uh, they don't change straps at house shows, do they? And I was like, well, you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah. You never
You
know.
never know.
You
Like
never know.
especially at MSG with no Raw that night. Like if you never know when WWE is going to try to make a buzz on social media. Like
Right. You
I mean,
never know.
obviously it's not going to be Roman and it's not going to be the Usos, but like, why can't Braun win the IC title or something? Like, why can't something random like that happen? And then it makes you tune in for SmackDown,
Right
which
off
is
the
supposed to
top
be
of
the
your head.
biggest show.
Right off the top of your head. Most famous house show title belt changes. You got any?
Well, wasn't there? I mean, the Rockers, right?
Well, no,
Wasn't that a non-televised show?
well, no, they were taping it and they decided not to air
Oh.
it. That
I
was
don't
for WWF Superstar
I don't
show.
remember. I know there's been some it's just escaping me right now. I don't
I'll
remember.
give you three that come to my mind right
Oh
away.
wow.
What I
Okay.
think are the three most favorites, most memorable. Number one, Bret Hart won his first ever WWF Championship at a house show.
Okay.
He beat Ric Flair at a house show. That was
Crazy.
Bret Hart, my all-time favorite, won his first ever WWF Championship at a house show. He beat Ric Flair, got him to tap out to the sharpshooter. Also, Diesel won his first WWF Championship. I think it was at the Garden,
Okay.
where he beat Bob Backlund for the title in like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Power bomb quickly, first ever championship for Diesel. And the third one that I remember right off the top of my head as well, how about an NXT house show where Samoa Joe ended Finn Balor's reign and won the NXT title?
Crazy. Yeah.
In front of like,
that one I remember. That was more
people.
recent.
Yeah, an NXT house show is like 400 people,
Yeah.
and Finn Balor's long title reign ended at an NXT house show.
But now remind me, the moment in the cage with the click, was that a house show?
Yeah, that was house show.
Okay, so there you go. That's again where you never like one of the biggest moments in the history of the business.
I think it was MSG.
I think it was too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest. That's like one of the moments everyone looks at that moment where they're like, "Holy shit!" They just changed the industry forever just by like celebrating with each other in the ring. So you never know.
I've been to, obviously as a kid, you go to so many house shows because there, televised shows were so few and far between as a kid. I don't think I've ever been to a house show where a title has changed. I don't think I ever have. But it's not going to happen at the show you're going to, but it's not impossible. It's not
impossible. It's not impossible. We've been just trying to decide if we should dress up because my brother and I have been known to dress up to go to events. You guys have dressed up as the old Rock meme, right?
Yep. At WrestleMania.
Yep. And a few years back, we dressed as Bray, and like early Bray, like New Orleans swamp guy Bray, and people were coming up to us with their arms out at the event. People, that's the best thing about wrestling. Like when you do that is like any other place you go, it's like, oh, you guys are corny.
Right.
You go to wrestling dressed up like that, corny. And people are like chanting at you and they're celebrating with you. There was a brief discussion about Brawling Brutes with me as Butch. Because my brother and our friend are both much bigger than me, so they would make sense to be the other guys. But I don't know if we have time to pull it off. We'll see.
This is a good opportunity for me to remind everyone. So Joey's going to a house show at MSG on Monday, and I'm going to WWE Live at FTX Arena this Thursday. So if you're looking for that last-minute Christmas gift, or excuse me, or you just want to go see WWE Live, all right, this Thursday, the 29th, FTX Arena, ftxarena.com. You got WWE Live. It's a SmackDown show. It's at the arena on Thursday night. Your boy's going to be there. I'm going with my son. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you've never been to a house show's the way to go, man. It's nonstop action. The matches
it's the hardcores too.
The matches are all long. You're getting good matches, and the interaction with the superstars and the fans. They really put the effort to put on a show and interact with the fans because it's not on television and they can break character if they wanted to.
I remember when I was in Charlotte, they came to the arena. And like the other thing that you get too is you get younger people on the roster that you may not know a lot about, and they get time to wrestle too. So there's a chance you're going to see like an incredible match from someone you may not have even like. I remember in Charlotte, it was like the first match of the night was Buddy Matthews, who's now in House of Black. And it was insane. Like at the beginning, everyone's like, oh, we don't know who these guys are. And by the end, everyone's losing their minds because it was just like an insane match. He's so good. And you'd never get that on like a TV episode.
You get to see guys who their first kind of, testing out with a crowd. That'll happen a lot at house shows. So again, if you want to go Thursday night, it's a SmackDown show. They're advertising an 8-man tag with the Bloodline involved. They're advertising that Bray Wyatt is going to make his return to Miami. So Thursday night, ftxarena.com, WWE Live. And for house shows, tickets are always super affordable. You can get in at a really good price.
Sounds like they're advertising the same show that I'm about to see. So I guess we'll find out.
Oh, maybe. Well, no, your show's going to be special. MSG, your show's going to be special. Yeah. And it's the night before. The one I'm going to on Thursday is the night before the big show on Friday in Tampa. Right up the road.
Can't miss main event.
Yeah. Well, not only are they pushing the can't miss main event, but man, Michael Cole last night is really pushing the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
John Cena.
Social. They're doing that on social too.
That bothers. I don't know. That bothers me. I love Cena. I'm not one of those guys. Cena sucks. Tired of Cena. That's not me. But I don't know. It bothers me. The greatest of all time.
Well, I think it's also it's just part of the storyline because Roman always calls himself the best. He says he's the best now. So I think if you keep pushing Cena as the best of all time or greatest of all time, then when Roman Reigns beats the shit out of him, gives him more of an argument.
Well, we'll get to there were just a couple things from last night that I want to talk about. One of them involved that. But let's start out at the beginning of the week with Raw. And I know you thought, and you're not the only one, I thought as well, pretty much. You thought this was as good a Raw you've seen in forever.
Yeah, I watched it Monday night, but I was kind of half in, half out. I was a little tired. But as I was watching, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then, we were talking about it last night. Like, what are we going to discuss today? And obviously we were going to discuss stuff from Raw, but I got up pretty early this morning and I was like, all right, I'm just going to just rewatch Raw. I got to say, not only it's hard to quantify because I don't remember every Raw this year and I don't remember every Raw of the last 5 years, but from beginning to end,
it's a great show.
Might have been the best Raw we've seen in years. Like show. Not just this year, but in years. Like every single thing on the show was good. Even the stuff that I was like, I don't like this storyline. For example, Miz Loomis. I don't really love that storyline.
Well, it seems like it's over now, right?
No, I don't know because Bronson Reed comes back or Bronson Reed causes the Miz to win. So now I think it's going to be Miz and Bronson Reed versus Dexter and Gargano, and it'll lead to Miz probably actually fighting Gargano. I don't know. But even that, I mean, Bronson Reed's pretty cool and did some really like big time stuff when he was outside.
Can I ask you, as far as Bronson Reed is concerned, how has Triple H done such a good job of keeping these returns under wraps? Like all of a sudden Bronson Reed has shown up, and now I purposely don't go over all the dirt sheet stuff because I don't want stuff like that ruined for me. But I do see some stuff, and I didn't see anything about Bronson Reed return.
Yeah, I think part of it is that a lot of the returns are people that were never in WWE in the first place. There are a lot of NXT people that could have been. So it's not like, I think a lot of people are not like clamoring to know if Bronson Reed is going to be back. Because like he was good in NXT, but he was never on the main roster. So it's like, the general
but even
WWE.
Like dating back to SummerSlam, at SummerSlam, nobody found out that Dakota Kai and Io Shirai were going to be debuting at SummerSlam.
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
and when Braun came back was pretty surprising.
Oh no, but I had heard Braun was returning.
I was actually pretty surprised when he showed up.
I actually saw that, but and even Dexter Loomis. We didn't know Dexter Loomis was returning.
But again, listen to all the names, right? All Bronson Reed, Dexter Loomis, Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, never main roster, all NXT.
We didn't know Karrion Kross was returning, did we?
No.
Now he had a moment on the main roster.
Yeah, well, and I think based on the way his main roster went with the Master Shredder mask, people were like, "Oh, we don't want him back." They're like, "We don't want him back."
What else I loved about Raw this week?
But there's also been so many. It's just hard to keep track now. Like so many returns.
Yeah. You know what else I also loved about Raw this week? They were doing like old school. They were doing like Attitude Era storytelling, man, where you got the storyline, just the main storyline of the show, which ended up being the Bloodline, the Usos running rampant, just weaving its way through the entire 3 hours. Like that was like old school Attitude Era storytelling.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, look, let's just run it down. Because normally we go story by story, but like real quick, I'll just run it down just like to the magnitude of what last night or this Monday show was. Because it was that. So like you said, it started with Heyman and Roman.
Yeah.
Roman says, we're going to show how powerful we really are. And then we go right into it. We got the Usos, Sammy, and Solo backstage just beating the shit out of Mustafa Ali, who... Good for that. I mean, God bless that guy because that's all that happened. He just gets the shit out of him, like weekly. Right into Street Profits versus Judgment Day, which, good match. I love Angelo Dawkins, by the way. I think I like him better than Montez Ford at this point. But that gets us to Rhea Ripley, Akira Tozawa, which I don't think anybody was
the coolest thing of the week.
Which I don't think anybody saw coming, which I'm sure you're going to want to talk more about.
Yeah.
Then we get Gable and Otis versus the OC. Shout out to Chad Gable because anytime he's in the ring, it's awesome. But then we get another bloodline attack, which leads us to Sami Zayn versus AJ one-on-one match, right? Then we get Alexa and Bianca backstage, which was an awesome segment with Alexa ending it by hitting Bianca with a plant or whatever after the Bray Wyatt thing flashed in the background. You know that, right?
Of course.
That's like the little detail there is like she's trying to make her case and this and that. it's over, and then it flashes, and then she hits her with the plant, which was awesome. We get the Bronson Reed return. Then we get Rollins and Theory in the ring, but it started with Rollins saying, "Notice how the Bloodline hasn't attacked me yet because this is my show, not Roman Reigns' show." Bloodline shows up. Theory runs away. KO comes in to make the save. So then we get Rollins and KO versus the Usos as your main event on Raw. By the way, just sandwiched in here in this Raw with all this crazy shit, great matches, great backstage segments. Oh, by the way, we just have Becky Lynch and Bayley one-on-one, two of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. Just casually just thrown into Raw.
It was a great show.
It was unbelievable. I mean, just think about that. Sammy and AJ, you had a ladders match. You had Becky and Bayley. You had Rollins and KO versus the Usos, all on Monday Night Raw. And that's in addition to the Rhea and Tozawa and two other really good matches.
And the storytelling where you got the one main story being the Bloodline. I mean, the Bloodline's the main story in all of WWE right now, but with them weaving in the Bloodline and the Usos just taking over Raw for the entire 3 hours, where essentially you got them doing something at the beginning of the show, you essentially got them doing something in the middle of the show, and then you essentially got them doing something at the end of the show. Like, that's how you keep the viewers, man, where I got to see where this is headed. I got to see the end of the story for tonight's show. And that was very Attitude Era storytelling on Raw. I mean, so many nights obviously revolved around Austin, but this, and you had to wait until Austin was finally going to come out, and how's he going to react to everything that's going on. But this had that type of feel to it where now maybe you were waiting for like when Roman is going to come out. He never came out, if I'm remembering correctly, but You're still waiting for how this story is going to end. And that's how you keep everybody watching.
And it also just keeps it keeps the Bloodline fresh, because now look at how many options there are for them on every show, right? They attacked.
But they have to be on both shows too. I don't know why they don't do it more often. Roman has both belts.
They have
both belts. Like, you got to have them on both shows.
Well, since War Games, they've been on both shows every week.
You got to.
Well, not Roman, but the rest of the Bloodline.
But Roman should be popping up on Raw every now and then. He's got both titles.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I think it's working. But like now you got them, they have the Brawl and Brute stuff on SmackDown, and whoever else they want to go with on SmackDown. They got KO. Now they have the Club and AJ Styles. I mean, there's so many different options for the ways they can go with these feuds. And plus Cena's coming back, and then they're going to build to Rumble, and then they're going to build to Mania. Like, the Bloodline, there's so much going on with that crew at all times. It's just so well done.
So coming up, on today's show, we're going to give, because it's almost the end of the month. I know it's almost the end of the year, but it's almost the end of the month. So I think at the end of every month, we're going to do top 5 wrestlers of the month. All right. So we're going to get to that coming up in a little bit here. And of course we got Big Dirt, not Big Dirt, but I want to go over my favorite storyline of the week, though, was you had the intergender match, which came out of nowhere. Okay. Between Rhea and Akira Tozawa. So there are several things that I loved about this. I think you got to be careful, of course, with intergender matches. All right. But it has to be like essentially the right participant. And Rhea Ripley's the right participant because she looks, now granted, Akira Tozawa is small, but Rhea Ripley looks like she could fight men. All right. She does. Like, she looks like China. She looks like she can fight men. Except the difference with, Rhea Ripley is a fantastic wrestler and China was not. But she looks like China. She can fight men, she looks like. But that doesn't mean that she should be fighting men. I love it wasn't like random, the way that they set this up. So you got the Street Profits versus the Judgment Day. And I forget who it was, but one of them kicked Dominic in the face.
No, it was Tozawa tried to throw the drink into Rhea Ripley's face,
and
she got out of the way, and it got in Dominic, who was wearing the sunglasses, because last week he got sprayed with the mist by Oscar.
Okay, so that's what it was. I mean, it was 5 days ago. I'm trying to remember. So that's what it was. Okay, so that match ends, and Rhea chases them up the entrance, and she now challenges Tozawa because she's defending her simp in Dominic. So it's not a random thing where a woman wants to fight a man. It was all part of the story where, Yeah, that's my that's my guy right there.
Yeah.
And I'm me as the female, I'm now going to protect him. So there
And
was a
you
reason for it.
and it's just like it continues not only to show how good Rhea is, but also just how good Dominic is as this little shit
Yep.
eating heel. He
Yep.
is he just plays this character
Yep.
so well right now. It is one of the great turnarounds in character work of probably of 2022, I would have to say. I mean, it's just been really remarkable. Like, he's so good. But yeah, it was
The match was not great, but the match was sloppy.
is this the first Oh yeah, it was
match
rough.
was sloppy.
Is this the first singles intergender match on WWE TV since China?
No. I mean,
Singles, not like mixed tag or something like that.
You had Nia Jax enter the Royal Rumble and took an RKO
that was
from Randy
cool.
Orton.
And the zigzag and the 619.
Yeah.
They just were all hitting her with their finishers. That was fun.
Yeah. I kind of miss Nia Jax, to be honest with you.
We never got the payoff either, right?
Right. Well, that's why I miss her. I want the payoff, with Becky Lynch.
Who knows? I mean, who knows? She might be back. I mean, good Lord. I mean,
she has said some really negative things about
also
WWE
isn't
leaving.
Yeah, but also, like, isn't she
part of the bloodline?
Maybe I'm missing this. Isn't she loosely related to that family?
Oh yeah, I don't think it's loose. I think she's related.
Or I don't know. She's like eighth cousin or something.
They're all ooses. They're all ooses.
Yeah. So maybe one day that could happen, but I don't know. Yeah.
So I love
rather have her than Tamina. Let's put it that
way. Dude. I mean, I can't handle it. Tamina is my least favorite wrestler, maybe of all time.
Well, I mean, if the Bloodline's ever going to have a woman, it's either Tamina or Nia Jax. It looks like, right?
So I love how they set up the intergender match, and I also love, do I want the man, in this case, Akira Tozawa, punching the woman? No, that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And Akira Tozawa didn't want to punch Rhea.
Right.
And it led to Rhea then beating the shit out of him. So there are ways that you can do intergender matches without it being like offensive, Yeah. And I thought, now, while I said the match was sloppy, it doesn't even matter. I still thought it was great, even though the match was sloppy, because I thought they did it right. Obviously, I love the way Rhea Ripley pins Tozawa. She still does her signature pin where she's kind of, missionary style on top of him. So I really dug that she still did that there. And credit to Tozawa, man, because he's been a stud really the last few weeks.
Well, I was going to say, I got to give him his props now because he didn't make my top 5. But man, what he's done over the last, I mean, he's a fixture now. He's back on TV and he's wrestling every week and he's hilarious.
Easy to root for. He's a fun wrestler. He's good with the facial expressions. He's really easy for the crowd to get behind.
Yeah, and he's just fun. He's funny, and he's really good in the ring. His nickname's the Cardio Monster, apparently, because he can just go and go and go. But, he's been really good. So I had to make sure we got to give him his credit because he's not on my list, although he was close. So
that was my favorite story of the week, was the intergender match. It came out of nowhere, and I thought they did it perfectly, and I just love Rhea Ripley. I mean, just a massive, massive star she is.
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was great. I mean, obviously, I love everything about what they did with the Bloodline on Monday, just the way, like you talked about, the way it weaved the whole show together. And like KO, also the small thing I think I texted you about this last night is like one of the things I really like about what KO is doing right now is that every week he's like randomly, he's teaming with somebody to go against the Bloodline, but he also used to have issues with the people that he's teaming with. So in their backstage segments, he's bringing all this up and they're acting like it never happened. So like with Elias, he's like, "You think I don't remember? You tortured me." He's like, "Are you talking about what happened with my brother?" And then this week it's Rollins and he's like, "You think I've forgotten what you did?" And Rollins is like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Well, no, Rollins said to him, "We make a pretty good team. Why did we stop teaming up?"
Oh yeah. And KO's like, "You tried to take my WrestleMania match."
Yeah, that was you.
Rollins is like, "That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
No, that was you."
And he goes, "I'm 98% sure it was you." And he goes, "Oh, so there's 2%." And he's like, "No, I was just kidding. It's 100%."
Yeah, you were wearing a really shiny jacket. You look great. It was you.
And Rollins was like, "Yeah, I did look really good." And he goes, "See, I told you it was you. You just admitted it."
I love the callbacks, man. Like, don't treat me as the viewer like I'm an idiot. And the viewers love that shit. They love the old stories being brought back up. KO and Rollins, they beat the Usos, not for the titles. Boy, when's the last time in a tag match one of the Usos got pinned? So
I saw a tweet the other day. I think it was Sean Ross Sapp or one of those reporters was saying like the Usos have lost a lot. Like they lose, not
in
obviously
singles.
title matches, that they've just been losing a lot of matches.
Well, I mean, I don't remember them losing a tag match.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they did
I
there.
don't remember either.
But then the night kind of ends with Sammy almost trying a sneak attack with Kevin Owens, his back turned, and Kevin turns around and catches him, and we're off and running, man. Like, I don't know if the end game is WrestleMania. Like, it feels like, all right, are we getting KO and Sammy against the Usos at WrestleMania, or are we getting KO versus Sammy at WrestleMania? I got my fingers crossed that it's KO versus Sammy at WrestleMania, but it feels like we're off and running, man.
Yeah. No, I think it's I got to think it's almost certainly KO and Sammy at Mania because it's going to be KO and Roman at Rumble.
Yeah.
So, that's at least it's what it seems like. I don't know.
Look,
but
KO could take the title off of him at Rumble, and the reason, I mean, probably not, but the reason that
unless they're just going to split the titles.
Well, but the reason that I say that is because if we are going to get The Rock returning, why would it be for the title? Why does The Rock, who is not a WWE superstar anymore, why is he going to come back and want the title? There's no reason for that. So if that's the case, you don't have to have the title on Roman.
Well, if Roman doesn't have the title, then he's not the head of the table. Like the whole idea is that they win, they're the best, and that being head of the table means you're the best. So I guess if he wins the title, then The Rock proves he's the head of the table.
If we go into WrestleMania and Roman has the titles and he's fighting,
it's the island of relevancy.
No reason to believe that The Rock's going to win.
But the island of relevance, you're only relevant on the island of relevancy if you're holding all the gold. Like, why are they the most relevant thing in wrestling if they have no titles? You know?
All right.
I guess. I mean, that's from a devil's advocate standpoint. Like, what makes them the most relevant thing? What makes them the top thing? What makes him the head of the table? It's because he's been the undisputed champion for almost 2 years.
Let me give you a little bit on SmackDown before we get to Dynamite here. There were really just two things that stood out on SmackDown, which was a tape show last night. Number one, fire promo from Sami Zayn to start off the show. Unbelievable. Bloodline starts the show, and Roman does his whole little spiel and then tells everyone that Sammy is pissed off tonight. What do you got on your mind? Get it off your back. And Sammy just lays into Kevin Owens and John Cena. And when you come out, he's finally got a family. And when you come after his family, you get smashed. Yeah. And that John Cena and Kevin Owens are going to acknowledge the tribal chief. I little things I love, where he started out doing the promo in line behind Roman. And then as he gathered steam, he got a little bit closer to the ropes. And then he stuck half his body through the ropes. Yeah. He closed the promo. I was hoping he was then going to take the next step and be his full body outside the ropes. It never quite got there. But that was a fire promo from Sami Zayn, ending with Roman kind of massaging his shoulders at the end of it. Great way to start the show. And the only other thing that, is worth bringing up, Raquel Rodriguez wins the gauntlet match, which I thought was a really good match.
Yeah.
I thought Xia Li looked fantastic. I thought Raquel looked fantastic. And my only beef with it is after Raquel beats the other 5 competitors, Ronda comes out, says, no, you got one more. And she's got to fight Shayna. I didn't know that Ronda gets to make the rules. But anyway, so Shayna comes down to the ring. And Raquel gets a roll up there, so she gets a fluky win there. And my only problem there is I just don't want them using Shayna like she's a henchman. She's arguably the greatest NXT champion of all time. I don't want them using her as a henchman.
Yeah, that's I think we've talked about this a few times. It's just like she's better than Rousey.
Yes.
And no one cares about Rousey anymore. Like, she's not relevant as like a crossover star. The reason to continue to push Rousey like this and have her have a henchman is like this extremely famous celebrity who's now in a full-time wrestler that's bringing eyes to WWE. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Ronda Rousey's bringing more eyes to WWE. Ronda Rousey, even when she can't, like, I've talked about this. I'm a hardcore MMA fan. I watch all of it. I watch UFC. UFC MMA fans don't like Ronda Rousey anymore. The way she
the
left,
way she exited,
the way she exited the sport,
bad.
she was a sore loser. She was
huge
whatever.
baby.
And, you know, people go through stuff, whatever. It is what it is. But she exited negatively. So when she went to WWE, people were like, good riddance. Like, we don't want you. It wasn't like, oh, shit. Like, when it wasn't like CM Punk going to the UFC or something like, or Brock leaving UFC and going back to WWE, where it's like, we got to see this. Like, we love this guy. This is one of our guys, right? But, you know, Ronda left on such a shitty terms that no one cared. There's like, go. And now you have her. No one likes her. No WWE fans like her, but they like Shayna Baszler. But, you know,
hopefully we're building toward a place where Shayna's going to realize, you know what, I'm better than you, and I want your title. Maybe we end up getting that for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's what we wind up building toward. And finally, before we get to Dynamite, this Friday's SmackDown is a fantastic show. Yeah. All right. We got Ronda Rousey defending the championship against Raquel Rodriguez. That's going to be a great match. All right. Yeah. Raquel's great. It's going to be a great match. You have obviously the main event, Cena and KO against Roman, who never fights on free TV, and Sami Zayn. That's going to be awesome. I'm like, I don't know where we're going to go from there. I mean, I guess from there, we're going to officially set up KO versus Roman for Royal Rumble. That's got to be the MO. And I do wonder if it leaves some wiggle room for a story for Cena, be it for Royal Rumble or more likely for WrestleMania, because remember, it's WrestleMania Hollywood. Right. What else do we have? The Usos are in action as well, right? Are they defending their titles on Friday?
I don't remember. I gotta imagine, but I don't remember who they're defending against.
Well, just with those two matches, this is clearly shaping up to be all right. We canceled day one, so we got to have some type of big show. This feels like they're
Uncle Howdy. Maybe are we gonna get Uncle Howdy?
Maybe this feels like their December premium live event.
Sure. By the way, I'll just shout out my brother again, texting me while we're talking about the Sami Zayn promo saying, and this is a wrinkle I think we haven't discussed about Mania. It's got to be Sami and Roman at Mania.
I don't think so. We got to get Sami versus Kevin first.
Maybe. Or is it like they torture Kevin Owens so much that Sami turns back? And I don't know. Either way. Just it's something to consider, though, because I think that hasn't been considered because of how good he is with the bloodline.
I don't think Sami beating Roman is believable. I don't think it's believable.
It's the story of it's like the story. I mean, it's like Daniel Bryan winning 2 matches in a night to become champion. Like, you know, it's that's the underdog story of wrestling, right? That's how you get someone like Sami Zayn over.
Like, I think it's too quick, but can we be headed toward that?
He's also. Like the bloodline are supposed to be heels.
Yeah.
What better way to keep them as heels than to you know, break Sami off? Because Sami is so.
I think what we're doing here is KO. Like the way to keep the bloodline heels is have KO be the guy
but everyone loves Sami. Everyone loves Sami so much, even with KO being the face. Like, they still love the bloodline because of Sami.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, they do. They do.
It's tough. Like, if you really want to have like the underdog good guy versus the villain, like true villain, Sami versus Roman could be that.
Give me a little bit on Dynamite here, specifically Jamie Hayter and Hikaru Shida in the main event, which I got to be honest, I did not see. I only saw highlights.
It was awesome. I mean, it was a great match.
I'm a big fan of Jamie Hayter.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great match. Just hard hitting. Like, Shida. It's interesting. Like, Shida's so good. I know it's hard to like keep the title on her for a long period of time because she doesn't speak English very well, so she can't cut a ton of promos and this and that. So it's hard to do like long-term storylines with her. But she's just awesome in the ring, and she should always be somewhere hovering around the title picture because she puts on great matches. Jamie Hayter is. I mean, it was like, I think Shivani said it at one point where he was just like, "This is arguably the hardest hitting women's title match I've ever seen." It was like from the start they were getting after it. I mean, it was just a really good match. Jamie Hayter wins, but of course, in very typical AEW fashion, Jamie Hayter first title defense, incredible match. Let's just overshadow it by having.
I know what you're gonna say.
By having, you know, let's have Britt Baker come in and let's attack Sheeta. Let's have Tony Storm show up. Cool. We need more Tony Storm. And then
you got
Tony Storm.
Saraya.
And then Tony Storm gets beat up. Oh, let's bring in Saraya. So
Yeah.
now it's not even about Jamie Hayter's first title defense anymore. It's about Saraya. And who gives a
Yeah.
shit about Saraya? Like literally, who cares? I mean, I just don't care. I mean, and then you caveat that with the real women's champion is fighting at fucking 10:30 at night on a Friday, getting
Jade?
her 45th. Yeah, Jade Cargill. She's fighting on Friday night when no one's watching, getting her 45th to go 45-0, making that title. That title is like meaningless because
That's a
we
bummer.
never. It's like, you know, what are we doing here with the women's division? Just it's everything with AEW, and we'll talk more. We'll talk a little bit more about the rest of the things that happen on the show, but like everything is like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Shouldn't she be on Dynamite? She's the TBS champion.
Yes.
Isn't Rampage on TNT?
I don't even know. I don't.
Dynamite's TBS. Shouldn't she?
Yeah.
Shouldn't she be on? Dynamite?
I think everyone's right about how good Jamie Hayter could be, but also like, shouldn't Jamie Hayter be the TBS champion and Jade be the champion? Like, don't get me wrong, Jamie Hayter's great. Jamie Hayter's still young, and she's not the top person in her own faction. Right, she's not the top.
Well, we're all built. We're clearly building towards.
We're building towards that, but you can build towards that with her having the second title.
Well, but then to get the second title, you got to take it off Jade, and they want the win streak. Like they can't take They can't just take it off of her.
Yeah. I don't know.
We didn't know when Jade won this title that she was going to be this good, and we didn't know that this win streak was going to become a thing. Now they're knee deep in it, man. They're neck deep.
They're knee deep. You know? Yeah, they are. But like they put her in segments with Bow Wow and Barrier on a Friday night when no one's watching. It's like, you know, you have something here. You clearly have something, and you have something really good here. Why is it? I mean, I understand like they can only do so much, but again, we'll talk about it. There were segments on Dynamite that didn't need to fucking be on Dynamite. That should never be on TV again. I would argue. But meanwhile, you have one of your best champions.
I think everyone knows what we're alluding to here.
Yeah.
All right. So also what grabbed our attention on Dynamite, we got to talk about the Elite. The Elite winds up, we knew this was going to be the case. This was my problem with the way that they booked it last week, where Death Triangle goes up 3-1 instead of 2-2. I don't know who's going to win the 5th match if it's 2-2. If it's 3-1, I know the Elite are winning the 5th match, all right, because the series has been great, and we're not going to end it after just 5 matches. Why would we do that? So the Elite winds up winning on Wednesday night, and it's a bloody mess. Like, I guess officially now, like Death Triangle, if we didn't know before, like they're officially heels now, because like they're busting them all wide open at the end of the match. You got blood everywhere. They got the hammer going on. Like that's the big takeaway, right? So the Elite, they win a fun match. It wasn't as good as the other matches because you got the bullshit involved. You got the trash can. You got the Christmas tree. The match isn't going to be as good with that stuff. It's gonna, it's gimmicky and it's bloody, and that's what they're trying to do.
Though. It's fun.
Yeah, it was fun, but it wasn't as good as the other matches.
I love the Brandon Cutler spot.
Yes.
Comes in dressed as an elf, takes a super kick.
Yes.
It's good.
You have, you got the barbed wire broom, which then gets stuck on Kenny Omega's ass, and the referee has to pull it out because he can't grab it himself. Right. So the match was messy as you would expect with a no DQ type match, but now it's 3-2. So now we're back in a place where, all right, I could conceivably see the Elite win. I mean, the Death Triangle winning the next one and winning it 6. So now we're back to a place. I mean, it's going to go 7, but now we're back to a place where, okay, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, Dynamite. I feel like every week I'm just shitting on AEW, even though there are a lot of really good things about AEW. And these guys are, these are 6 of the best wrestlers on the planet. So, like, I'm not complaining about them necessarily. I am complaining about how predictable AEW is right now. Like, every storyline, you kind of pretty much know where long-term and short-term, like, it just feels like you know exactly where everything's headed.
It's funny because even like a year ago, I didn't feel that. It was one of the things I really loved that was going on with AEW.
Well, and in the beginning, because in the beginning of AEW, so it's almost like WWE's taken from that and it's a very indie type of thing where it's like all these different factions and they're all kind of feuding with each other, but then there's feuds within feuds and this guy's with that. So like with WWE right now, you have all these different groups and they can all be feuding with different people. And because there's so many people in the group, like this guy has a thing with that guy and whatever. When AEW first started, that was kind of what was happening, where it was like they're bringing in all these different groups and then you just never know who's going to be feuding with who. And on week to week, this person might have a run in and that. No, right now, AEW, it's like, we know who's against who. We know who's going to win. We know who's going to lose. And this is like, I think I mentioned it last week, or you mentioned it. So now they have the round ball. They have round ball rock, right? So
did they use it again at the start of the show?
Yeah. Well, no. So they legitimately can't figure out the timing on this shit. So they had the opening segment which we'll talk about briefly with Ricky Starks and Jericho.
Yeah.
After the opening segment, they go to like the whole here's what we got coming out tonight, and it's Excalibur going really fast because they don't have enough time in the show. Yeah. Here's what we got coming up tonight. We got this, and then within him going through one random match, Round Ball Rock comes on.
Well, you know what? That's interesting that you brought that up, because I want to tell you another thing that reminds me. And I mean, look, they're a young company, so production wise, like there are some miscues. But like you mentioned there, Excalibur's going super fast because he's got to get out everything he's got to say. He's got to hit a certain mark, and they got to get to what they're getting to. If you're producing that show, you cannot have the Death Triangle beating the shit out of the Elite. They're all bloody. There are hammers involved, and there's still action in the ring with blood involved. And then, in a very hurried fashion, cut to backstage footage from last week with MJF. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's just weird. Yeah,
you can't do it. You got to keep the camera on the ring. It's like if we're watching an NBA game and all of a sudden there's a fight on the floor, but we got to go to commercial. We got to hit. No, you need to keep the camera on the fight, and you got to figure out how to fit in that commercial in a minute or two.
It's all.
We got the Elite are bleeding and they're being attacked, and you're taking me to footage from last week on MJF. Like that was, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's why I say it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back with AEW, where it's like you have these great feuds, you have these great wrestlers, you have all the talent's all there, but then they do something stupid where you're like, why? And it's like, why are they forcing this Round Ball Rock shit in? I keep going back to it, but then again,
so but by the way, the NBA hasn't been on NBC in 25 years.
But also, like, this is why the whole outcome is predictable. Excalibur during the match referenced the Warriors losing after being down 3-1. He referenced it during the match.
So
obviously we know what's going to happen here. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's like, I mean, it's been clear what we were doing the whole time, but they're just giving it away. It's like, give us something to look forward to. Like, the matches are good in and of themselves, and I'm sure some people are just happy to get good wrestling matches. But I want the story too, and the story's already been told. Like, the story is told. We know what's happening here.
So it's really hard for wrestling fans to all unanimously agree on something. And then you have Parker Boudreaux.
Well, so the whole segment, man, segment.
Well, for me, I'm willing to give Swerve and his new crew there and Rick Ross and dropping a mother effer on the air. Like,
I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Look, they say shit. What's his name? Stokely Hathaway called Daniel Bryan a raggedy ass bitch, which is a raggedy bitch, which is a funny thing to say on television. Like, AEW toes that line, to be sure. You cannot say mother effer.
My understanding, though, is that, Turner told them they had to calm down with saying shit because they were dropping shit like constantly because they were like, I think in the beginning, it was like kind of a joke. Like, I think it was Jericho or someone else referenced early on in the company is like, we're allowed to say shit 5 times like on the air. So they always made sure that someone said shit.
You cannot say mother effer. There is no getting around it. You
gave a hot mic to Rick Ross on a live TV show. Like, what do you how do you think this segment's going to go?
But for me, whether or not you want to give it time, look, I saw some people who dig Rick Ross being there. Wrestling fans are never going to agree, but wrestling fans all agreed with, Parker Boudreaux. What? the hell are you doing? Like he
Well,
looked like an idiot out there.
Well, he also like they brought him in to attack Keith Lee, and then he just got his ass kicked.
Wasn't he
like,
in another faction?
Yeah, he was also in NXT like 6 months ago.
No, I know that, and he was dubbed as the next big thing, and then they released him, and everybody was like, "Whoa, why did they release him?" Well, I think we know why they released him. Like he sucks. But wasn't he in another faction with Sonny Kiss and someone else? And they didn't explain how he's not in that anymore. But so now he's in this new crew. He's like a bodyguard for Swerve, I guess, you know. But like every time he punched Keith Lee, like he's having a seizure. Like what? He looked terrible.
Yeah, I mean
that.
Yeah, I think I was just like yes, he stunk. And then also here comes this guy who no one, even the announcers don't know who this other guy
apparently was a baseball player. Did you see some pictures of him before?
Yeah,
he was a professional baseball player.
Yeah, but it's like, hey, here's this. Oh, who is this?
Like, guy.
Here's some guy. But I think I was just overcome by how bad the whole segment was. That like my main takeaway wasn't Parker Boudreaux, even though he wasn't good.
He was my takeaway.
But like from the start, it's clunk. Like you got Shivani and Rick Ross in the ring. Tony Schiavone introduces Rick Ross, and then Schiavone, for some reason, can't even say Keith Lee's whole name. He's like, "Hey, all right, let's bring out Keith."
Oh, that's what he said. He must have forgot his name.
It's just like, let's bring out Keith.
It's only one syllable.
Yeah, and then it takes them like an extra 10 seconds for the music to hit. So maybe they weren't expecting the music to come on. Keith Lee comes out. Obviously, Rick Ross calls him a big motherfucker, which is like
you can't say that.
Which was like Keith Lee. You saw Keith Lee's face. Keith Lee looked into the camera and goes,
"Yeah." Keith Lee's probably like, "What am I doing here? I was face to face with Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble. What am I doing?"
And then they might as well have had a young legend counter on the screen, because Rick Ross then proceeds to call Swerve young legend 17 times in the next 2 minutes. And he's like, let's bring out the young legend. And it takes him 7 minutes to come out. No music ever hits.
So
he just walks out like
this crew is this is A-Dub. This is his new Hit Row, because Swerve was running Hit Row.
So this is what I was getting at. Maybe. And I, to Tony Khan's credit, I think it's pretty clear he allows the wrestlers to like be creative and do their own things.
Yeah.
Maybe Swerve needs to consider that. Let's focus less on him, the fact that he's a rapper, and let's just focus on the fact that he's a great wrestler and one of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, he keeps going back to this rapper gimmick because he does rap.
Yeah.
Fine. It failed in WWE, and it's going to fail now. Like, has there ever been a faction more so that you look at them from the jump and you're like, this may not even be here next week? It's so
By the way, we talked about it last week with Triple H, like who are the talent. So there's a story out there, you don't know if it's true or not, but that he's down on some of the talent he brought back.
Hit Row. Yeah,
I think it's Hit Row. I think it's
Hit Rows. Yeah. They got to be up there. Yeah.
Because Hit Row, when they first re-debuted,
well, they're not as good without Swerve. Swerve is really good.
Yeah. But they were getting wins and they were being featured, and now they lose every week, including this week.
But they got a title shot. I mean,
I think Hit Row is the one we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, but there's so many. I mean, but anyways, the on Swerve though, it's like we get it, man. You have friends that are rappers. You are a rapper. That's awesome. That's really cool, man. That's really, really cool. You know who else? But you know what? What's Max Caster's not a real rapper, but his rap gimmick is way over.
Yeah.
It's like. We don't really the rest.
Well, because Swerve is like an evil rapper.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, so now we're mogul affiliates. They already have merch. Like, what? They're wearing their merch already. No one knows.
What's their crew called?
Mogul Affiliates.
Mogul Affiliates.
Yeah, that's what it said on the shirt, and they referenced it a couple times.
Mogul Affiliates.
They might as well be called Young Legends. Young Legends. It's like, and then the best part is like. I mean, the only part, and it's absurd, so bad, but also like hilarious, is that anytime someone did anything to Keith Lee, Rick Ross is like, whoa. Dude,
They got to be paying Rick Ross so much money.
But they did a back. I don't know if it was just a social thing or if it was on the show and I just missed it and saw it on social. There was a backstage interview too, and Rick Ross was with them. It looks like Rick Ross might be with them.
Rick Ross all elite?
And Rick Ross might be all elite.
He might be all elite.
I mean, look, if you're gonna do it, go all the way. Because again, it's just another example of putting the mic in someone's hand when you have another guy in Swerve who doesn't need someone to talk for him.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do it, you might as well just let Rick Ross go. Like he already said motherfucker on live TV.
Yeah, he can't say anything crazier. Like that's a bad word. He
actually, and he goes in the backstage segment. It was who was it that was he was interviewing? Who was interviewing him? I forgot who was interviewing him. It was god damn it.
Was it Marvez?
No. I think I'm getting my my storylines crossed from WWE and AEW.
So Byron Saxton?
I'll go back to it because I remember Rick Ross said something funny in the backstage interview, but I can't remember what it was now. I'm blanking.
Ricky Starks opened the show, right? Ricky Starks opened the show, and I'll tell you what, I can go with Ricky Starks with a microphone in the middle of that ring on a weekly basis now, man. Like I totally dig everything he's doing. He comes out to the ring, his entrance, people are loving it. Like he's way over right now. Ricky Starks, you got a little bit of a rock vibe to him, you know, where he's got the confidence. He's great on the microphone. I dig it, man. I'm into it.
Yeah, and we were talking about like how it sucks that he loses to MJF and now he already has to move on to his next feud. And we were like, how do you keep this guy at the top? Who better than Jericho? I mean, there's no one. I would argue there's no one better in wrestling right now to keep this guy as relevant as he is than feuding with Jericho. And we get. I don't
like the Wizard being back though. I don't like the Wizard. I don't like the Wizard.
I love everything about Jericho. So
I love a Wizard.
If he decide, well, he never actually like said he was the Wizard, but they did a backstage segment where they interviewed Action Andretti.
He's doing wizard shit.
Threw the fireball in his face.
Yeah.
But hey, Action Andretti, not terrible on the mic either. A little nervous, you could tell, but hey, it was fine. I love this. I love Ricky Starks going from MJF to Jericho. It gives him someone to go back and forth with on the mic. And then
bring him back to MJF at some point, you know?
And he referenced it in his promo. He said, I'll be back. He said, even if I have to beat everyone in the locker room, I'll be back. So
you can bring him back.
It keeps it alive. And to be honest, D-Bry comes out later in the show. He's cutting his promo. I honestly don't really have very much interest in Bryan Danielson going up against MJF.
I think the reason you don't
it just doesn't do a whole lot for me.
I'll tell you why you don't, because you know they're not putting the belt on Danielson.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah, I do like Ethan Page coming out because I think Ethan Page is great, and it gave us the Stokely Hathaway moment where he called Daniel Bryan
raggedy bitch.
Raggedy bitch. And also, it's like Daniel Bryan's insult is, "I couldn't hear you because you're bald." like, what are we doing? It's just so bad.
Too nice. I tell you also, I don't like the whole making me respect William Regal thing. Like, William Regal was dastardly and he helped MJF win the belt. Like, why is Bryan Danielson trying to shove down my throat that William Regal's a good dude? I don't get it.
Yeah. It was it's just not great. And they're forcing it because here's the thing.
Gone. Why do we need to
exactly. And again, that's the thing. Is like if he was gone, but we thought he was coming back, this would be different.
Yeah.
But the fan is intelligent.
Yeah, like maybe he would be coming back and he would then double cross Danielson, but he ain't coming back.
Right. But like now we're dragging on this storyline about how Bryan Danielson is fighting for the honor of a guy who's gone forever. Right. Like no one cares anymore. Out of sight, out of mind. He's been off TV for weeks. He's out of the company. It doesn't matter anymore. What are we still fighting for? Because you like him? Oh, boo-hoo. Like, who gives a shit? Yeah. And it takes me to my point of, Rick Ross is on the show. We have this Bryan Danielson promo that's sort of like shoehorned in there. You get Saraya on the show. Meanwhile, in very AEW fashion, we get a maybe 15-second promo for Rampage with Excalibur going, "Let's run on Rampage. We have the $300,000 3-thing Christmas Casino Trios Battle Royal." And doesn't explain what it is at all, and then just moves on. Turns out it was a pretty cool idea, and I don't think I've seen a trios battle royal before like that. And Moxley was in it, and Hangman Page attacks Moxley during it, which was an awesome spot. How's that not on Dynamite?
Oh, so I got to go back and watch Rampage then. That sounds like a fun show.
Yeah, it was a fun thing. Now, again, within that, you have Claudio losing after he just won the Ring of Honor title. So it's like the storytelling's all over the place. But I'm all in on anything Hangman Page. And again, you have him showing up randomly on a Friday night at 10:30 p.m.
Yeah.
No one is going to see that.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
And very few are going to go. I mean, I didn't see it. I saw the clips. I saw there was a YouTube clip from AEW. Who won the trios, whatever thing? The longest name for a match in the history of wrestling, by the way. The $300,000 Three Kings Christmas Casino Trios Battle Royal. And the trio that won got a briefcase with $300,000.
I love a battle royal. I'm gonna go back and watch that, man. I like
but again, it's just like all these things that could be it's just all very random. I mean, you get the Ass Boys beat FTR. You know, I guess FTR's done. They've lost 3 matches in a row. They dropped their Ring of Honor titles. Like,
right, lots of rumors about them.
It seems like they're on their way out. And by the way, talking about predictable, well, obviously, I think we're headed towards the Ass Boys against the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn helping his sons out and turning on the Acclaimed. I mean, it's got to be where we're headed, right? Like, isn't that where we're headed now? Why else would you have the Ass Boys beat one of the best tag teams on the planet?
Okay.
But it's just predictable. It feels
but you know what? I'm looking forward to that though. Now that it could be predictable, but still be good. Like I'm looking.
Of course. I don't disagree. It could be predictable.
If that's what they're going to do, and that makes sense.
It feels like it.
I'm looking forward to that then.
Yeah, it feels like it. That's what it feels like. I don't know. But anyways, you know, I don't want to keep shitting on them because they do have talent. And they have really good, like there are really fun storylines, but it's just like every time you think it's coming together for AEW, they do some dumb shit like this Rick Ross thing, and it's like, come on, man.
All right, so let's do new feature on It's Still Real to Me. End of the month, top 5 wrestlers of the month. All right, you ready? You want to go first, or should I go first here?
I can go first.
Go ahead. Let's hear it. Come on. Count it down for dramatic purposes. Come on.
My top 5. This is just like we said last time for our top 5s. These are our top 5s. Yeah. So don't get mad.
For the month.
I have a tie at 5. Okay. Because it was hard to take one of these guys off the list. Tied at 5 for this month. Chad Gable and Dominic Mysterio.
Wow. How about that?
And I'll give you a quick on each. Gable just holds it down for the mid card. Like everything he does, whether it's a match or a backstage segment, whether he's on Raw or he's on SmackDown, he's one of the most entertaining guys on the show at all times. And you got to know that the company values him when they're putting him in the thing with Angle for Angle's, 30th anniversary on the show that he's not even part of. He was in the JBL thing, and he was the highlight of the JBL poker tournament. He has matches week after week. He's keeping Otis, he's building Otis back up to being a fan favorite again. Like, he's been great. And then Dominic, it's obvious, right? Dominic's just, his heel work, even when he's not wrestling, he's just incredible. Mm-hmm. 4, Chris Jericho. And it's tough because Jericho hasn't won any matches this month, I don't think. But we complain a lot about when old wrestlers just keep sticking around and they don't put people over. Well, shit. First, he drops the belt to Claudio with the swing, which we've never seen before, original finish. And then he puts over this guy Action Andretti, and now he's in a thing with Ricky Starks. Jericho just continues to, and also like he went from being fat to being like ripped in a month. It seems like 2, which is cool. 3, Solo Sikoa, and this could be the bloodline in general because Sammy's been great and the Usos have been like workhorses. But I think Solo's taken just a leap over the last month. He added in the Samoan Spike. Shout out to Umaga. He's helped Sammy win 2 singles matches this month. He's had his own singles match. And also his character work where it's like, is he mad? Is he happy? Why isn't he putting up the 1? Why isn't he wearing the clothes? You just don't know with Solo. Also, by the way, I looked it up for next week. Solo versus Sheamus on the December 30th.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So that'll be awesome. Solo's just been great. Number 2, Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss starts the month by winning the semifinals of the tournament, then wins the number 1 contender, then has the moment with Bianca in the ring where she puts her in the Sister Abigail. Will she be with Bray? Won't she be with Bray? Then the backstage segment where she hits her with the plant. I texted you this. I'm starting to be more interesting Alexa's alignment with Bray than the Bray storyline itself. And the Bray storyline's great, but there's something about the way they've done this with Alexa where I actually think she's going to win the title. I think she's going to win the title. Maybe that's crazy. I don't know if it is, but what they've done with her, I think she's going to win the title. So she's number 2, and number 1, it's got to be Ricky Starks, right? Like the guy, obviously he had the match with MJF and it was a great match and he lost. He'll be back. But the promo, he had one promo. He made himself into a household name and a star. So he's got to be number 1 for me.
All right. So our lists are pretty different though, except for one. All right. So number 5 for me, top 5 wrestlers of the month. I got Ricky Starks at number 5 for the reasons that you said there. I feel like the promo with MJF, he became a made man. So now every week I like the microphone in his hand. Thought he was great this week with the microphone as well. Had a great match with MJF, and clearly they're still keeping him at the forefront because now he's got the thing going on with Jericho. I want to see Ricky Starks every week. So I got him as number 5. Number 4, wrestler of the month. I got Action Andretti, man. I didn't know who this guy was, and now all of a sudden he's a household name as far as wrestling fans. I thought he did a decent enough job this week too. Backstage promo, running in the ring, but overall, that match 2 weeks ago with Jericho, I think we're going to remember it. I'm comparing it to 1-2-3 Kid and Razor Ramon. He was fantastic. The crowd was so behind him, and then we end up getting the big payoff with him actually beating Jericho. So I got Action Andretti coming in at number 4. Number 3, Akira Tozawa. I mean, Tozawa has done great work this entire month. I think there's also an element to it where he was toiling away doing the 24/7 bullshit, and now the fans are getting to see, whoa, this guy, he can actually do some really fun stuff when he's given the chance. So I think there's an element of that where the crowd likes being behind him, where you got the guy who's being given an opportunity now, even though he's been around for a while. But you got a guy who's given an opportunity now. His facial expressions are great. He was fantastic in the match with Rhea Ripley, which is not an easy match to have, an intergender match. And I thought Tozawa looked like a stud. So I got Akira Tozawa at number 3. Number 2, Sami Zayn. The promo yesterday really put it over the top for me. He was phenomenal. He's been great in the buildup. I know Survivor Series War Games, that was technically November, but the last couple of weeks, are they going to make him a part of the bloodline? The whole deal. You don't know where it's going. Sammy's been a major star. And obviously we're building toward Owens versus Sammy whenever that happens. All right. And for me, number 1, the number 1 wrestler of the month for me, Rhea Ripley. Whenever she's on the screen, I can't take my eyes off her. She, like, if you were to be watching pro wrestling for the first time and you see Rhea Ripley on the screen, she is a top star. All right. She looks like an A+ star. I love, obviously, the whole deal with Dominic, the intergender match. While the match itself wasn't great, overall, the match was great. And part of that is her. All right. She's able to work with the men. She's able to work with the women. Everything she's doing on this. She doesn't need a belt. I mean, eventually I'd like her to have the belt, but she doesn't need a belt. Okay. That Judgment Day, I know Dominic Mysterio has obviously played a major, major role. But for me, Rhea is the clear-cut leader of the team. And whenever she's on the screen, it's must-see for me. So top wrestler of the month of December for me, I got Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I mean, I have my honorable mentions, and my top 3 honorable mentions were your top 3 of the month: Tozawa, Rhea, and Sammy.
There you go.
And the rest of the bloodline too. Like, you got to give credit to the Usos. They're fighting every week on every show. Yeah. I mean, they're fighting on both shows, defending the belts, and having singles matches on every. So just from a wrestling standpoint, I mean, they're work rate, like, they're active. And then the only other 2 in that I got to shout out. Well, I got to shout out Rollins. He's been great still. Everything he does is still good. House of Black, everything they've done this month, like, they're just beating the shit out of people, cutting cool promos. And Grayson Waller, NXT. Okay. I've liked this guy for a long time. He won the Iron Survivor Challenge, so that means he's going to get a title shot. He's like, I don't know if he's from New Zealand or Australia. He's got the New Zealand Australia accent. He's like an Australian Miz. Okay. He's like, kind of like, do you hate him? Do you love him? He's really good on the mic. He's cool and he's fine. Good in the ring. Good athlete. I think he's going to be really big. And he won the Iron Survivor first ever. So he was in my honorable mention too.
Let's do Big Dirt, not Big Dirt, Joey. Let's get to it, man.
All right, let's start off with, so we had some news this week on the future of Monday Night Raw and potentially the future of the company as a whole. What's being said is that at the end of 2023, WWE's deal with USA Network is up, and that they could potentially be moving to one of NBC's networks, Monday Night Raw, which could also lead to an outright sale to NBC Universal of the company.
Wow.
Big dirt, not big dirt.
That's very big dirt. Just the idea, even just moving Raw to a broadcast network station would be enormous. The way that SmackDown is on Fox. I mean, Raw has never been on broadcast television. And then the idea that you would have a possible sale, I hope that's not the case. I like the idea that it's always going to be like in the McMahon family. So that's a big deal, man. Absolutely.
WWE Network's already on Peacock, so there's like the natural. I mean, it would be really cool for people who are, cord cutters, because I would imagine Raw would also stream live on Peacock, which opens up a whole new audience of people that probably aren't watching it, but we shall see. All right. A report came out this week that, timing is pretty interesting. The WWE has changed their wellness policy that you don't automatically get fired after 3 failed drug tests.
Right.
And obviously we have the Riddle thing going on, and there's been a lot of talk about why didn't he get suspended and this and that. But also, part of this report was that there was clamoring backstage that because they're now in a wrestling war, they're concerned of people potentially, if they want to get out of their contract, just failing drug tests to get fired.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's a report. It's the dirt sheet, so who knows? But big dirt, not big dirt. It sounds like you could just smoke dope in WWE now.
Yeah, I'm going not big dirt. I don't think you could just smoke. Well, I mean, marijuana is they're not testing for anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But I would imagine the third strike, instead of getting fired, you are forced to go to rehab. You're obviously going to be suspended without pay, that kind of stuff. So nobody really wants that. But I'm going not big dirt because, WWE, I mean, I know they're a publicly traded company, but they're their own business. They could do what they want. If they don't want to fire, workers for drug use, they don't have to fire workers for drug use. Like, they're their own business. They're their own company. So, I mean, you can look down on that if you want, if you don't want people like that working for you, but it's their company. If they don't want, it's not like, in the NFL and they're allowing guys to use performance-enhancing drugs. That's a competitive sport. As much as we want to call WWE a sport, it's sports entertainment. If they're okay with their guys using drugs, that's their business, man. So I'm going not big dirt.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the timing is it's rough for them because everyone. It goes back to the whole how are they defining what's bad enough to get fired and what's not after the Mandy Rose thing and then the Matt Riddle thing, and now they changed the rule. It's a little
again
weird,
their own business,
Sure,
their business.
Yeah. Well, publicly traded business, but yes, business. Sean Ross Sapp tweeted on Monday. I think after the Bronson Reed, he tweeted, "I don't think we're done with WWE with returns in WWE." And then also, within the same time frame, was liked a tweet from Eva Marie, which is leading to speculation that Eva Marie's coming back. Big dirt, not big dirt. Eva Marie potentially back in WWE.
I'm going big dirt. I like Eva Marie. I thought she's obviously fun to look at, and I liked what they were doing with Doudrop and her. And then all of a sudden, Eva Marie was out. Which, by the way, on a serious note, where is Doudrop? Is she hurt? What's
I saw her on. She was on.
I'm a big fan. I think she's fantastic.
Not just that, there was a bunch of commercials there's this one commercial that keeps playing on USA, and Doudrop's in it.
Where the hell is she?
I don't know.
I wish she would go back to Piper Niven, but I'm a big fan. She's great.
Yeah, she's really good.
I miss her. So, as far as Eva Marie goes, I'm going big dirt. Bring it back. I like her. Come on.
All right. I've talked about this exhaustively on the show, and we've talked about that AEW, they're just the company of belts, right? We got the title, the world title. We got the TNT title. We got the All Atlantic title. We got the TBS title. We got the women's title. We got the trios championship. We got the tag team championship. We have the FTW championship that was defended this week by Hook. What else? Oh, we got all the Ring of Honor titles. Dave Meltzer's reporting that in 2023, AEW plans to add more titles.
What?
Didn't say how many or what titles.
So is every match going to be for a title?
It just AEW planning to add more belts.
I'll tell you, if you're fighting in a match and a title is not involved, you're a loser.
Yeah, Big Dirt, and also because there's only 3 hours of programming on TV, so a week. So yeah, every match it might be for a belt. Big Dirt, not Big Dirt. AEW, the company of the belt.
I'm going not Big Dirt. I'm going not Big Dirt because I think all those Ring of Honor belts, you know, like I said, it seems like they're not going to be featured as much on AEW television anymore. So I'm going not Big Dirt.
Yeah, and also just the fact that, like, you know, they'll randomly just have Hikaru Shida defending a belt from another company on their programming. Like, it's just like so many belts. All right, last one. Edge has been out for a while after, you know, everything that happened with the Bloodline, with Judgment Day. And there's been questions like about when he's going to come back, what's his contract status, this and that. The rumor that I read this week is that he will be back and that his next match will be versus Finn Balor at Royal Rumble in Hell in a Cell. Big Dirt, not Big Dirt.
I'm going Big Dirt. That sounds accurate because it also comes on the heels of, what was it, like a month or so ago when we found out that we're getting rid of Hell in a Cell. That it's not going to be like its own
that it would
pay-per-view.
be a blow-off match instead of
it's going to be for a
pay-per-view.
special reason. You could do a Hell in a Cell match anywhere, but it's got to have a purpose. And that right there, I would say, would have some purpose. I would hope you get the Brood version of Edge. That would be a lot of fun. And I know Finn Balor, I don't know if the Demon is dead, you know, but I remember in NXT, man, the Demon fought in a steel cage, and that shit was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm going Big Dirt. That would be a lot of fun. I can buy that. That sounds like something that's happening. Yeah.
I think it's cool. I like the idea that I love that Triple H is making it into more of a specialty match than a whole event, because the event ended up being just one Hell in a Cell match anyways. So you had a whole card called Hell in a Cell for one Hell in a Cell.
No, it makes sense. It's like all of a sudden we're feuding, but the next pay-per-view is Hell in a Cell. Oh, so I guess we need to be in the cell. Why?
Well, yeah, and it's for this kind of feud. It's like, how do you combat the Judgment Day? You lock yourselves in the cell.
Yeah. Good idea. Good job there, Joey. Yo, you're gonna have some fun, man, on Monday night. You gotta give us a report. All right, next weekend, MSG, WWE Live. You're going on Monday, and again, FTXArena.com. I'm going to WWE Live on Thursday here in Miami. It's a SmackDown show. You're a Raw show, right?
No, ours is a SmackDown show. There is a Raw show running the same night. It's somewhere else. But ours is SmackDown. Yep.
All right, very good, man. Excellent job today. Good work, Joey. We'll talk to you next week, man.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Make sure, everybody, you're out there. You like, you rate, you comment. Tell all your friends, tell your family about it. Still Real to Me, Zaslow Show 2.0, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you guys next week.